ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 3, Talks between Lord Shiva and Sati. Can someone say if you can see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
You can hear, okay. Maitre uvacha sada vidvishatorevam kalo vai driyamanayo jamatu swasurasyapi sumahan atichakrame. Maitreya continued, in this manner, the tension between the father-in-law and the son-in-law, Daksha and Lord Shiva, continued for a considerably long period. यदाभिषिक्तो दक्षस्तु ब्रह्मणा परमेष्टिना प्रजापतीनां सर्वेषाम् आधिपत्ये स्मयो भवत्. When Lord Brahma appointed Daksha the chief of all the Prajapatis, the progenitors of population, Daksha became very much puffed up. इष्ट्वा स वाजपायेन ब्रह्मिष्टान् अभिभूय च बृहस्पतिसवं नाम समारेभे क्रतूत्तमम्. Daksha began a sacrifice named Vajapeya, and he became excessively confident of his support by Lord Brahma. He then performed another great sacrifice named Brihaspati. तस्मिन् ब्रह्मर्षयः सर्वे देवर्षिर्पितृदेवताः आसन् कृत स्वस्त्ययनास् तत्पत्न्यश्च स भर्तृकाः. While the sacrifice was being performed, many Brahmarshis, great sages, ancestral demigods, and other demigods, their wives, all very nicely decorated with ornaments, attended from different parts of the universe. तत् उपश्रुत्य नभसि केचराणां प्रजल्पताम् सती दाक्षायणी देवी पितृयज्ञमहोत्सवं व्रजन्ति हि सर्वतो दिग्भ्य उपदेव वरस्त्रियः विमानयानः स प्रेष्ठा निष्ककण्ठीः सुवाससः दृष्ट्वा स्वनिलयाभ्यासे लोकास्तिर्मृष्टकुण्डलाः पतिं भूतपतिं देवम् औत्सुक्याद् अभ्यभाषत. The chaste lady Sati, the daughter of Daksha, heard the heavenly denizens flying in the sky conversing about the great sacrifice being performed by her father. When she saw that from all directions the beautiful wives of the heavenly denizens, their eyes very beautifully glittering, were near her residence and were going to the sacrifice, dressed in fine clothing and ornamented with earrings and necklaces with lockets, she approached her husband, the master of the Bhutas, in great anxiety and spoke as follows. Satyuvacha प्रजापतेस्ते स्वसुरस्य सामप्रतं निर्यापितो यज्ञमहोत्सवः किल वयं च तत्राभिसरामवामते यद्यर्थितामि विबुधा व्रजन्तिः. Sati said, my dear Lord Shiva, your father-in-law is now executing great sacrifices, and all the demigods having been invited by him are going there. If you desire, we may also go. तस्मिन् भगिन्यो मम भर्तृभिः स्वकैर्ध्रुवं गमिष्यन्ति सुहृदिदृक्षसवः अहं च तस्मिन् भवताभिकामये सहोपनीतं परिबर्हम् अर्हितुम्. I think that all my sisters must have gone to this great sacrificial ceremony with their husbands just to see their relatives. I also desired to decorate myself with the ornaments given to me by my father and go there with you to participate in that assembly. तत्र स्वश्रिर्मे ननु भर्तृसंहिता मात्रस्पर्शः क्लिन्नधिया च मातरं द्रक्ष्ये चिरोत्कण्ठ मना महर्षिभिर् उन्नीयमानं च मृडध्वरध्वजम्. My sisters, my mother's sisters, and their husbands and other affectionate relatives must be assembled there. So if I go, I shall be able to see them, and I shall be able to see the flapping flags and the performance of the sacrifice by the great sages. For these reasons, my dear husband, I am very much anxious to go. त्वय्येतद् आश्चर्यम् अजात्ममायया विनिर्मितं भाति गुणत्रयात्मकं तथापि अह्यं योषित् अतत्त्वविच्छिते दीनादिदृक्षे भव मे भव क्षितिम्. This manifested cosmos is a wonderful creation of the interaction of the three modes, material modes, or the external energy of the Supreme Lord. This truth is fully known to you. Yet, I am but a poor woman, and as you know, I am not conversant with the truth. Therefore, I wish to see my birthplace once more. पश्य प्रयान्तिरभवान्ययोषितो पि अलङ्कृताः कान्तसखावरुथसा यासां व्रजाद्भिसितिकण्ठमण्डितं नभो विमानैः कलहंस पाण्डुभिः. O never born, O blue throated one. Not only my relatives but also other women, dressed in nice clothes and decorated with the ornaments, are going there with their husbands and friends. Just see how their flocks of white airplanes have made the entire sky very beautiful. कथं सुताय पितृगेहे कौतुकं निशम्य देहः सुरवर्यनेङ्गते अनाहुता अपि अभियन्ति सौहृदं भर्तुर्गुरोर्देहकृतश्च केतनम्. O best of the demigods, how can the body of a daughter remain undisturbed when she hears that some festive event is taking place in her father's house? Even though you may be considering that I have not been invited, there is no harm if one goes to the house of one's own friend, husband, spiritual master, or father without invitation. तन्मे प्रसीदेदम् अमर्त्यवाञ्छितं कर्तुं भवान् कारणिको बतार्हति त्वयात्मनो हृदे अहम् अदभ्रचक्षुषा निरूपितमानुग्रहान् याचिता. O immortal Shiva, please be kind towards me and fulfill my desire. You have accepted me as half of your body, therefore, please show kindness towards me and accept my request. ऋषिरुवाच एवं गिरित्रः प्रिययाभिभाषिता प्रत्याभ्यादत्त प्रहसन् सुहृत्प्रियः संस्मारितो मर्म विदः कुवागीशा ईशून् यान् आह को विश्वसृजं समक्षिता. The great sage Maitreya said, Lord Shiva, the deliverer of the hill Kailash, having thus been addressed by his dear wife, replied smilingly, although at the same time he remembered the malicious, heart piercing speeches delivered by Daksha before the guardians of the universal affairs. Shri Bhagavanuvacha पयोदितं शोभनम् एव शोभने अनाहुतापि अभियन्ति बन्धुषु ते यदि अनुत्पादितदोषदुष्टयो बलीयसानामृत बलीयसानात्मन्यं मदेन मन्युना. The great Lord replied, my dear beautiful wife, you have said that one may go to a friend's house without being invited, and this is true provided such a friend does not find fault with the guest because of bodily identification and thereby become angry towards him. विद्या तपो वित्तवपुर्वयः कुलैः सतां गुणैः शब्दिर् असत्तमेत्तरैः स्मृतौ हतायामृतमानदुर्दृशः स्तब्धा न पश्यन्ति हि धाम भूयसाम्. Although the six qualities education, austerity, wealth, beauty, youth, and heritage are for the highly elevated, one who is proud of possessing them becomes blind, and thus he loses his good sense and cannot appreciate the glories of great personalities. नैतादृशानां स्वजनव्यपेक्षया ग्रहान् प्रतीयान् अनवस्थितात्मानम् अनस्थितात्मनां येभ्यागतान् वक्र दियाभिचक्षते आरोपित भ्रूभिरमर्षणाक्षिभिः. One should not go to anyone's house, even on the consideration of his being a relative or a friend, when the man is disturbed in his mind and looks upon the guest with raised eyebrows and angry eyes. तधारिभिर् तथारिभिर्न व्यथते शिलीमुखैः शेतेर्दिताङ्गो हृदयेन दूयतां स्वानां यथा वक्रदियां दुरुक्तिभिर्दिवानिशः तप्यति मर्मताडिते ताडितः. Lord Shiva continued, if one is hurt by the arrows of an enemy, one is not as aggrieved as when cut by the unkind words of a relative. For such grief continues to rend one's heart day and night. व्यक्तं त्वम् उत्कृष्टगते प्रजापते प्रियात्मजानामसि शुभ्रो मे मता तथापि मानं न पितुः प्रपत्स्यसे मदाश्रयात् कः परितप्यते तत यता. My dear white complexioned wife, it is clear that of the many daughters of Daksha, you are the pet, yet you will not be honored at his house because of your being my wife. Rather, you will be sorry that you are connected with me. पापच्यमानेन हृदातुरेन्द्रियः समृद्धिभिः पुरुष बुद्धिसाक्षिणाम् अकल्पयेषाम् अधिरोढुम् अंजसा परम padam द्वेष्टि यथा सुराहरिम्. One who is conducted by false ego and thus always distressed both mentally and sensually cannot tolerate the opulence of self-realized persons. Being unable to rise to the stand of self-realization, he envies such persons as much as demons envy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. प्रत्युग्मा न sorry प्रत्युद्गम प्रत्युद्गम प्रश प्रश्रयणाभिवादनं विधीयते साधु वितः सुमध्यमे प्राज्ञैः परस्मै पुरुषाय चेतसां गुहाशयायैव न देहमानिने. My dear young wife, certainly friends and relatives offer mutual greetings by standing up, welcoming one another, and offering obeisances. But those who are elevated to the transcendental platform, being intelligent, offer such respects to the super soul who is sitting within the body, not to the person who identifies with the body. सत्वं विशुद्धं वसुदेवशब्दितं यद्यायते तत्र पुमान् अपावृतः सत्त्वे च तस्मिन् भगवान् वासुदेवो हि अधोक्षजे मे नमसा विधीयते. I am always engaged in offering obeisances to Lord Vasudeva in pure Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is always pure consciousness in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead known as Vasudeva is revealed without any covering. तत्ते निरीक्ष्यो न पितापि देहकृत् दक्षो मम द्वित्तत् अनुव्रतश्च ये यो विश्वस्रयज्ञगतं वरोरुमाम् अनागशं दुर्वचसा करोति तिरः. Therefore, you should not see your father, although he is the giver of your body, because he and his followers are envious of me. Because of his envy, O most worshipful one, he has insulted me with cruel words, although I am innocent. यदि व्रजिष्यसि अतिहाय मद्वचो भद्रं भवत्या न ततो भविष्यति सम्भावितस्य स्वजनात् पराभवो यदा स सद्यो मरणाय कल्पते. If in spite of this instruction you decide to go, neglecting my words, the future will not be good for you. You are most respectable, and when you are insulted by your relative, this insult will immediately be equal to death. Thus ends this chapter 3 from the fourth canto entitled Talks Between Lord Shiva and Sati. Hare Krishna. Okay, let me open my notes. Yeah, this is such a wonderful story, giving us so many wonderful teachings. And here we are talking about what happened after Daksha has um, cursed, which led to a series of curses. And in fact, it was that we saw Nandishwar has cursed, and after that, Bhrigu Muni has cursed. And seeing all these things, Lord felt very much morose. Lord Shiva, he left from the place so that he wanted to, yeah, stop unnecessary topics. What is the most necessary thing is to always sing the glories of the Lord. That comes as prayo, and that's why Lord Shiva, he felt okay. Yeah, there is no point to stay here, and he left. And in fact, yesterday the highlight what was yeah, we can pick was Nandishwara was um, yeah, protecting Lord Shiva, being his master, against the insult that was thrown by Daksha. Hmm. And this is what yesterday we discussed how it was justified. Okay, after some time, what happened was Maitreya is saying Sada vidvishator evam kalo. So what happened is this, yeah, once there's something happens and then what happens is it goes. Yeah. Um, we see here that Daksha was burning in that envy while Lord Shiva kept aloof. He just continued, but what happened was, in this manner, the tension between the father in law and son in law continued for a considerable long period. In the purport, Prabhupada is writing. Another question is why the strife between Daksha and his son in law caused Sita to destroy her body? You remember that was the question Vidura asked. So we can see the reason from here. It is said that unless all the demigods are present, no sacrifice is complete. But in the tension between father-in-law and son-in-law, Daksha began another yajna performance to which Lord Shiva was not invited. So yeah, we can see that this may be because yeah, anyway Daksha has cursed that yeah, Shiva will not get a sacrificial fruit or results. That is okay, but as a son-in-law, he would have called invited, but he didn't call that. Daksha was the chief progenitor employed by Lord Brahma, and he was son of Brahma, so he had high position and was also proud. And the second verse is already saying Daksha had this high position which made him proud, caused actually disaster. Why? Because Daksha became very puffed up. Why? Because he thought that he is one of the chief progenitors, and not only that, he is son of Brahma, and he is recognized great. So all these things has cooked up false pride in him. And then what happened? Ishtva, Ishtva Sa Vajapeya. So he was performing yajnas, and in all these things he was neglecting Lord Shiva in the sacrifice, and which was not befitting. This is what, according to the scriptures, we can see. Yeah, in the purport it says, according to the Vedic scriptures, the demigods are eligible to participate in yajna and share the oblations, but Daksha wanted to avoid them. All sacrifices are intended to pacify Lord Vishnu, but Lord Vishnu includes all his devotees. So, very careful, this point is clear. Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other demigods are all obedient servants of Lord Vishnu, therefore, Lord Vishnu is never satisfied without them. So, which means though the yajnas that are performed by Daksha uh, or have invited the demigods, but he didn't invite Lord Shiva, and because Lord Shiva is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, so in the end, whatever the results that has to go to Lord accepted by Lord Vishnu, yeah, it doesn't work in that way. He's never satisfied without them. But Baksha, being puffed up with his power, wanted to deprive Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva of participation in the sacrifice, understanding that if one satisfies Vishnu, it is not necessary to satisfy his followers. But that is not the process. Uh, Vishnu wants his followers to be satisfied first. Krishna says, Mad Bhakta Puja Vika. The worship of my devotees is better than worship of me. Similarly, in Shiva Puran, it is stated that the best mode of worship is to offer oblations to Vishnu, but better than that is to worship the devotees of Krishna. Thus, Daksha's determination to neglect Shiva in the sacrifice was not fitting. Hmm. So it went further. So then everyone arranged themselves. They came and they wanted to enjoy or they want to take part and be blessed, whatever is the reason. Each woman was accompanied by her husband. Thus they looked so beautiful that Sati, who is Dakshayani, was impelled to dress simply similarly and go to the sacrifice with her husband. And Prabhupada writes, this is natural inclination of a woman. uh, and Sati then she approached her husband and she is saying, your father-in-law is now executing great sacrifices and all the demigods having been invited by them are going there. If you desire, we may go. In other words, she submitted her desire very politely to her husband, but she just said, hey, your father-in-law, rather than saying my father, she said your father-in-law, so that may instill some spirit of relationship. Yeah. And she said, my I think that all my sisters might have already gone. Mm. So in this connection, the word Prabhupada writes, what is the meaning of three? This propensity is not natural. What is that? It is a woman's nature to want to decorate herself with ornaments and nice dresses and accompany her husband to social functions, meet friends and relatives, and enjoy life in that way. This propensity is not unusual. For women is the basic principle of material enjoyment. Therefore, in Sanskrit, the word of for woman is stri, which means one who expands the field of material enjoyment. That is the meaning of stri. In the material world, there are an attraction between men and women, and this is arrangement of conditional life. A woman attracts a man, and in that way, the scope of material activities involving house, wealth, children, and friendship increases, and thus, instead of decreasing one's material demands, one becomes entangled. Lord Shiva, however, is different. Therefore, his name is Shiva. He is not at all attracted by material enjoyment, although his wife Sati was the daughter of very great leader and was given to him by the request of Brahma. There are so many considerations. It was fortune. It was fortunate for Sati that Lord Shiva did not take the ornaments from his wife and spend them for ganja, because those who imitate Lord Shiva in smoking ganja exploits everything from household affairs. They take all of their wealth, wife's property, and spend on smoking, intoxication, and similar other activities. So, when one says that I am a follower of Lord Shiva, yeah, externally, if one says, oh, Lord Shiva is so detached and so renunciant and so that he smokes, that he does all these things, and one is just doing, rather, one should understand that one shouldn't imitate Lord Shiva. One should follow Lord Shiva, which means always absorbed in meditation. Hmm. Sati Devi continued. She said, "My dear husband, I am very much anxious to go." She started giving all the reasons, and she said, she was very persistent for a considerable time that she want to go, and she was giving different reasons. And then she was, this truth is, you are very stable, you are very detached, but I am a poor lady, uh, not so much conversant with the absolute truth, what is reality, how to be. Therefore I wish to see my birthplace once more. Therefore she has addressed her husband as Aja, which refers to one who has transcended the bondage of birth and death. Huh? In fact, it is said, one who has attraction for his birthplace, for his body, and for other such items mentioned in the Bhagavatam is considered to be like an ass or a cow. Sati might have heard all this many times from her husband, Lord Shiva, but because she was a woman, Yoshit, she still hankered after the same material objects of affection. The word Yoshit means one who is enjoyed. Therefore, woman is called Yoshit. In spiritual advancement, association with Yoshit is always restricted, because if one is like a play doll in the hands of Yoshit, then all his spiritual advancement is at once stopped. It is said, those who are just like playthings in the hands of a woman, Yoshit Krida Mrigeshu, cannot make advancement in the spiritual realization. Hmm? So she said further, yeah, all are going in the airplanes, so may we also go. Hmm? Um, yeah, and then Lord Shiva is, is saying, when he was addressed, please be kind towards me and fulfill my desires. Yeah, in fact, you have accepted me as your half, better half. And then, when Lord Shiva heard from his wife about Daksha, the psychological effect was that he immediately remembered the strong words spoken against him in the assembly. Remembering those words, he was very sorry at heart, although to please his wife he smiled. That's why here Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying Lord Shiva is Atma Rama, or situated in complete self realization, but because he is incarnation in charge of modes of ignorance, tamoguna, he is sometimes affected by the pleasure and pain of material world. Not, yeah, uh, very exceptionally. Therefore, because Lord Shiva, although a fully self-realized person, was in charge of material modes of ignorance, he felt sorrow, which is genuine, which is understandable. And then he is saying, my dear wife, hmm, you have said that one may go to friend's house without being invited. That is okay as long as the friend doesn't find fault with the guest because of the bodily identification and thereby become angry towards him. Yeah, it's not good to go there. Therefore, it is better that she not go. This is the reason why he discouraged her to go, or them together to go. Although the six qualities, which are education, austerity, wealth, beauty, youth, and heritage, are for the highly elevated, means one who is really successful, only they will get this. One who is proud of possessing them becomes blind. Because having all these qualities, one should feel blessed as the mercy of the Lord and use that in the service of the Lord. But rather, if one is thinking that all these things are so great that I am great, then uh, uh, them becomes blind. So, yeah, I'm just briefly going through. There are also other points, nice points. So there is an example in the 17th verse. Material exhaustion is an advantage for advancement in Krishna consciousness. Although, if one is conscious of his eternal relationship with the Lord, one can utilize one's material assets, such as great learning, beauty, ancestral property, for the service of the Lord. Then such assets become glorious. In other words, unless one is Krishna conscious, all his material possessions are zero. But when this zero is by the side of Supreme One, it at once increases the value to 10. Unless situated by such Supreme One, zero is always zero. One may add 100 zeros, but the value will still remain zero. So, One should not go to anyone's house even on consideration of his being a relative or a friend. When the man is disturbed in his mind and looks upon the guest with raised eyebrows and angry eyes. Tatharibhir na vyatate shili mukhaihi. By the arrows. Shili means very sharp arrows. Lord Shiva said, if one is hurt by the arrows of an enemy, one is not as aggrieved as when cut by unkind words of a relative. So, even if one is hurt by a sharp arrow of an enemy, that may not be as painful as even harsh words of our own relative. For such grief continues to rend one's heart day and night. Hmm. So he said, it is clear that for many daughters of Daksha you are pet, yet you, of many daughters, but yet you will not be honored at his house because of your being my wife. Rather, you will be sorry that you are connected with me. So, Lord Shiva could already see because he was detached. He was able to see things as they are. Lord Shiva put forward the argument that even if Sati proposed to go alone, huh, without her husband, still she would not be received well because she was his wife. There was every chance of catastrophe, even if she wanted to go alone. Therefore, Lord Shiva indirectly requested her not to go to her father's house. In fact, he says, one who is conducted by the false ego and thus always distressed, both mentally and sensually, cannot tolerate the opulence of self realized persons. So he is telling why Daksha behaved like that. Why one who is conducted by false ego, hmm, and thus always distressed, cannot tolerate the opulence of self realized persons. Being unable to raise to the standard of self realization, he envies such persons as much as demigods envy the Supreme Lord. Hmm. And he says, yeah, in fact, the wife may say, but you didn't get up when my father was there. And Shiva is saying, my dear wife, certainly friends and relatives offer mutual greetings by standing up. Friends and relatives is okay, welcoming one another and offering obeisances. But those who are elevated to the transcendental platform, being intelligent, uh, offer such respects to the super soul who is sitting within the body, not to the person who identifies with the body. Uh, so here it is clearly said that among Vaishnavas, therefore, it is seen that even when a disciple offers obeisances to his spiritual master immediately returns the obeisances because they are mutually offered, but not to the body, but to the super soul. Therefore, the spiritual master also offers respect to the super soul situated in the body of disciple. That offering respect to his devotee is more valuable than offering respect to him. The Lord Himself is saying. Devotees do not identify with the body, so offering respect to Vaishnava means offering respect to Vishnu. A Vaishnava sees the body as a temple of Vishnu. Since Lord Shiva had already offered respect to the super soul in Krishna consciousness, offering respect to Daksha, who identified with his body, was already performed. Therefore, there was no need to offer respect to his body, for that is not directed by any Vedic injunction. For us, we may not be able to appreciate this, but Vedic injunction is telling that is fine, especially when one comes to that spiritual level. And Lord Shiva is saying, Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. He is saying, I am always engaged in offering obeisances to Lord Vasudeva. Huh? So, uh, so he's saying I'm always absorbed, and in that way, I'm already offering obeisances to everyone who, the Atma, everyone in the sense of spirit soul. And saying, he concludes, he's saying that, okay, therefore, you should not see your father, although he is the giver of your body, because hmm, he is he because of his envy, he has insulted me with cruel words, although I am innocent. An insult from a relative is worse than death, especially when one is well situated. And in spite of this, if you like to go, hmm, this insult will immediately be equal to death. Indirectly, Lord Shiva is saying, if you go, yeah, it's unbearable that you will die. And in fact, that what happens in the end. Okay, what happened afterwards we'll cover tomorrow. Tomorrow being the last session of the week. It's very, 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 what do you call, Utkantha. Um, High climax of this. What happens is gives her body up. I think yesterday Satish Prabhu was mentioning what happened. So we will discuss that tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay, any questions or is everything clear? Etiquettes, the code of conduct, or shall we open this Manu Shastra and then start seeing?
Thank you, Prabhuji, for reciting and explaining these two chapters for Daksha's arrogance and everything. So, Prabhuji, Daksha being the son of Brahma, why Brahma at the first place requested Daksha to marry his daughter with Shiva?
Because
Isn't
Sati liked Lord Shiva very much.
okay?
It was not a forceful marriage. It was that, but because Daksha was not interested because he saw Shiva is very abnormal, and then Lord Brahma comes and facilitates.
Okay, thank you. And one more question. Yesterday, you mentioned that that Bhrigu Muni,
Mm-hmm.
so he curses the followers of Lord Shiva will become the
Atheist.
Mayavadis.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, since then only, like it started, like the who in general we see the followers of Shiva. They are these Mayavadis. So it's because of this Bhrigu Muni's curse only, right?
What time we don't know, but at least that was a curse. Was it immediate effect or later? I think we have to read the purports again carefully. I don't remember, but at least that comes to true, and that came through in one of the purports. It's mentioned Adi Shankaracharya teaching these principles of atheism, yeah, of
Okay.
Mayavadi, just like this world is matter and this is Maya. So yeah, what we say Maya is basically actually still is energy of the Lord, right? So that's why, yeah.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then see you tomorrow. Panchakalpatarabhyascha kripa sindhubhyo chapatidanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.